All right, guys, this is our descent plan calculator, what you guys can use to help you out throughout the season. Now, remember, your descent plan goes into effect every time you weigh in. Every time there's an official weigh in for a match, your weight goes into the computer, and the computer will make your descent plan just like this. All right, so this is a way that you guys can check every time you know your weight after a match. You can figure out how much you can lose per day. So give you an example here. All right, so the only box you guys are going to be touching is this box right here, the highlighted box where it says weigh in. Right, everything else is a formula, so you don't want to touch any of these zeros in day one. All these numbers will adjust. All right, you can only lose 1.5% of your body weight per week. So when you put your weight into this box, you'll see it will get calculated. It will tell you you can lose X amount of weight per week, X amount of weight per day. Okay, and that will be calculated over here. So, for example, and I've used Shane Perry a lot in this example, just because I know he is one guy that's trying to get down to a weight class that is a decent amount of weight that he has to worry about between now and our first match. But let's just say Shane is unable. He wants to wrestle 132, but he can't make that weight, that 134 weight on March 16th against Roxbury. Right. So, but his goal, all right. So again, we wrestle Roxbury on the 16th. His goal is to maybe make 138 or 134, excuse me, by the time we wrestle North Warren. So that would be day. He weighs in. The descent plan kicks in. You have day 1, day 2, day 3. So he has to make sure whatever number he punches into that box, that on day 3 says he can wrestle 134.00 or less. 134.1 is not the weight class. It will not work. So it has to be 134.0 or less. So let's see here. I put Shane's weight. So say he weighs in Roxbury and he weighs in at 136. He weighs in at 136. You see by day 3, he's only, based on the descent plan, he can only be 135.13. If he looks at here, it would actually take him 7 days from making 136, that he'd be able to get down to 133.96, which would be the 134-pound weight class. And again, if that's 7 days, I go back to the calendar. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He would actually be ready for our Morristown match. All right. So again, all you need to do is plug in your numbers to figure out, and it will give you everything you need. All right. And really, you only have to deal with these 2 columns. When you go across, this is just telling Shane that the most amount of weight the state will allow him to lose is basically 2 pounds a week. And it's 0.29 pounds per day. All right. So that's how he knows. So, hey, let's say he gets to 135. If he gets to 135, well, then by day 4, he can make 134. Now, day 4, again, 1, 2, 3, that still puts him past North Warren. So if he really wanted to wrestle 134 in North Warren, he probably has to make 134 on that day against Roxbury. So each week you guys can play around with this. As I mentioned, this is going to be as an assignment. So this will be your copy. So each week you kind of open this up and see, all right, where I'm at, where, I weighed in at this weight. Where am I at now? Fortes, as of today, March 3rd, he was 179. If he weighed in at 179 against Roxbury and he wrestled 182, technically he would not be able to wrestle 170 until day 24. So just to give you an idea that, hey, the longer we wait to drop, the harder it is to make the weight class we wanted, all right, that we want to. Palacios, you weighed 145, I believe, 0.6 today, all right? If you look to get down to 142, it's day 12 after Roxbury. So that's why it's important that we're thinking about this right now, all right? So we know exactly what we need to weigh. Perno, you weighed today, hold on, I'm opening this up, 115.4, okay? 115.4. So again, if you waited till Roxbury, you're like, you know what, I'll make, and let's say, never mind 115.4. Let's say you weighed in at 115 against Roxbury because that's the weight. Man, you can't go 10, you can't go 110 until day 21. So that's why it's really important that we get closer and closer to weight, right? And again, it makes it a little harder. The lighter you are, the less you have to work with. Someone like, like a big heavyweight that weighs in at 285, notice he can lose a lot more per day than your normal small guy. So the lighter you are, the more difficult this becomes. Right. So it's very important that you guys know that and you start plugging in numbers so you have an idea and you guys should have goals in your mind. All right. What weight do I want to be by Saturday of this week, by Wednesday of next week? All right. And let's keep in mind, those of you that need to wrestle off. All right. You need to be within 2 pounds of the weight class. So I'm going to use our 106 guys as an example. So if Perno and or Carson wants to wrestle off the Asti, they have to. The weight class is 108. They'd have to be at least 110 to wrestle off. All right. So that's something you guys have to think about because we're going to be doing wrestle offs next week. All right. And that's the same thing for anybody, right? So if we're wrestling off, it's +2 of the weight class. All right. +2 of the weight class. All right. And again, our weight classes are not normally 106, 113 anymore. It's now 108, 115. All right. So just keep that in mind.